When I first set my sights on the coastal community known for its breathtaking ocean views, I felt an undeniable rush of excitement. There was something captivating about the golden sunsets painting the sky and the sound of waves crashing against the rocks. I envisioned myself spending mornings sipping coffee on my porch, breathing in the salty air, completely free from the constraints of a Homeowners Association. I had recently closed on a charming home nestled slightly away from the shore, framed by lush gardens and mature trees, my little sanctuary that promised both tranquility and a touch of adventure. The non-HOA status meant no rigid rules dictating how to maintain my property or what colors I could paint my front door. It was an exhilarating concept, true ownership and the freedom to express myself. As I settled in, I quickly connected with several friendly neighbors who welcomed me with open arms. Life seemed idyllic. Weekends were filled with beach outings and lively barbecues, offering a perfect blend of relaxation and community bonding. But beneath this picturesque surface, a storm was brewing, one that would soon challenge the very essence of my new life here. The moment I stepped into my new home, I was captivated by its unique charm. With a quaint front porch that beckoned for lazy afternoons and an open floor plan that flowed naturally from room to room, it felt instantly welcoming. Large windows bathed the living space in natural light, offering glimpses of the vibrant garden outside, filled with blooming flowers and native shrubs swaying in the ocean breeze. The location was perfect, just a short walk to the beach where golden sands met azure waters, allowing me to embrace the coastal lifestyle I had always dreamed of. Choosing this non-HOA property was driven by my desire for autonomy. It was an exhilarating concept, true ownership and the freedom to express myself. As I settled in, I quickly connected with several friendly neighbors who welcomed me with open arms. Life seemed idyllic. Weekends were filled with beach outings and lively barbecues, offering a perfect blend of relaxation and community bonding. But beneath this picturesque surface, a storm was brewing, one that would soon challenge the very essence of my new life here. The moment I stepped into my new home, I was captivated by its unique charm. With a quaint front porch that beckoned for lazy afternoons and an open floor plan that flowed naturally from room to room, it felt instantly welcoming. Large windows bathed the living space in natural light, offering glimpses of the vibrant garden outside, filled with blooming flowers and native shrubs swaying in the ocean breeze. The location was perfect, just a short walk to the beach where golden sands met azure waters, allowing me to embrace the coastal lifestyle I had always dreamed of. Choosing this non-HOA property was driven by my desire for autonomy. Unlike HOA-regulated homes, which often come with strict rules about landscaping and exterior colors, my freedom here meant I could cultivate my garden as I saw fit, or paint my door a bold color without asking permission. This sense of ownership and self-expression was intoxicating. With this home, I envisioned not just a residence, but a personal haven tailored to my tastes, a place where I could truly be myself and escape societal expectations. Little did I know how soon those dreams would be challenged. As I unpacked boxes and settled into my new home, a wave of exhilaration washed over me. Each day felt like a new adventure, filled with the delightful scent of salt in the air and the soothing sound of waves crashing nearby. I made it a point to explore every corner of my property, relishing the freedom to arrange my garden exactly how I envisioned, with colorful flowers twining alongside fragrant herbs. Neighbors quickly became friends, welcoming me with open hearts and inviting me to join weekend gatherings. We shared stories over barbecues, laughter echoing through the warm evenings as we enjoyed the stunning sunsets. My newfound ability to express myself without HOA constraints felt refreshing. I could paint my porch any color I desired or experiment with outdoor decor that reflected my personality. Every moment reinforced my decision to choose this life. With each cup of coffee enjoyed on the porch and new memories forged, I embraced the camaraderie of this coastal community. It seemed as if everything was perfectly aligned. Only later would I come to realize that this tranquil escape was poised on the brink of turmoil. Just as I began to feel completely at home, the first whispers of tension crept into the neighborhood. It started subtly. An offhand remark from a neighbor at a barbecue about keeping up appearances and how some homes have certain responsibilities. The comment hung in the air, laced with passive aggression, leaving me to wonder what it truly meant. A few days later, I received an unexpected visit from a couple who lived a few houses down. Their smiles were friendly, but their message was clear. While my non-HOA status might offer freedom, the community had unwritten standards that I needed to adhere to if I wanted to be accepted. They pointedly mentioned how certain colors for fences and yard decor could clash with the overall aesthetic of the area. I brushed off their warnings at first, believing that my choices were perfectly fine. Yet, as days turned into weeks, I couldn't shake the feeling that my neighbors were watching closely, their eyes lingering on my garden and porch decor. It was disconcerting. What began as a haven now felt tinged with scrutiny, foreshadowing trouble ahead. One afternoon, my worries transformed into reality when I received a formal letter from the HOA. It was meticulously typed on crisp paper, and as I skimmed through the contents, my heart sank. They accused me of obstructing ocean views with my home, claiming that my property disrupted the aesthetic harmony of the community. The letter went on to state that I was in direct violation of their guidelines, even though I had purchased a non-HOA house. Panic began to set in as I considered the implications. How could they assert that my home blocked anyone's view? My house sat far enough back from the shore, nestled behind trees and shrubbery that actually enhanced the environment rather than detracted from it. Yet there it was in black and white. Their demand for me to rectify this situation or face potential legal action. I felt trapped and bewildered by this sudden shift from neighborly tension to an outright confrontation with authority. Perhaps my freedom was more fragile than I'd anticipated. The peaceful community I had embraced was now looming ominously over me like a dark cloud. As the weight of the lawsuit sank in, disbelief washed over me. I could hardly comprehend how this could happen. My home, which I had envisioned as a personal retreat, was now the center of conflict. The HOA's motives seemed increasingly suspect. How could they genuinely believe that my modest property obstructed anyone's view? I began to question their definition of community itself. Was it really about fostering neighborhood spirit, or merely about enforcing conformity and control? Frustration bubbled within me, spurred by the thought that the HOA, with its rigid expectations, was undermining my sense of belonging. I had chosen this home specifically to escape such constraints. The irony stung. Here I was, seeking freedom and self-expression, only to find myself battling an impersonal entity that seemed intent on stifling individuality in favor of a curated ideal. I couldn't shake the feeling that their actions were not just about property lines, but about power dynamics within the community. Would my autonomy be crushed under the weight of their bureaucratic standards? The thought left me reeling as I plotted my next steps. As news of the lawsuit spread through the neighborhood, the community became sharply divided. Some residents rallied behind the HOA, echoing sentiments about the need for aesthetic standards and voicing concerns about how my property might impact their views. I could overhear hushed conversations and see disapproving glances directed my way during casual encounters. For them, maintaining a uniform appearance felt crucial to preserving property values and the coastal charm they cherished. Conversely, a significant number of neighbors began to express their support for me. They admired my right to live freely without the constraints of an HOA and stood firmly against what they perceived as aggressive tactics. These allies voiced their discontent at community meetings, emphasizing the importance of individual expression and the right to choose how to maintain one's home. This growing divide fostered an uncomfortable atmosphere. Friendly exchanges turned tense, and backyard barbecues suddenly felt strained. I found myself caught in the crossfire, realizing that my battle was not just about my house, but also about differing ideals of community and ownership that would forever change the fabric of our neighborhood. As the reality of legal action set in, I knew I had to take decisive steps to protect my home and my rights. The first task was hiring an attorney with experience in property disputes and HOA regulations. After a few consultations, I found someone who understood not only the legal landscape, but also the emotional stakes involved. Together, we began to strategize. Gathering evidence became my next priority. I started documenting everything. Photographs of my property from various angles, emails exchanged with neighbors, and any previous communications from the HOA that could support my case. I even reached out to supportive neighbors for their testimonies regarding how my home had not obstructed anyone's view or negatively impacted the community. Preparing for court felt daunting. I spent hours familiarizing myself with legal jargon and procedures. Each day brought a mix of anxiety and determination as I reviewed our arguments. Standing up against the HOA felt like more than just defending my property. It was about asserting my right to live authentically in a space that represented me. Yet, as the court date approached, uncertainty gnawed at me. Would justice truly prevail? As I prepared for court, I decided to reach out to my neighbors for their thoughts on the matter. Their testimonials painted a vivid picture of the community's diverse perspectives. One elderly resident, Mrs. Thompson, shared her dismay at the HOA's actions, stating, "We moved here for the view and freedom. This isn't just about aesthetics, it's about our rights as homeowners." Her words reflected the sentiment of many who appreciated the character of our neighborhood without feeling confined by strict regulations. Conversely, a younger couple, Jake and Sarah, expressed regret over my situation, but sided with the HOA. "It's not personal," Jake explained, "but we need to maintain a certain look to protect our property values." The concerns highlighted a deep-rooted fear that personal choices could negatively impact the community as a whole. Other neighbors chimed in with mixed emotions. Some empathized with my struggle for autonomy, while others argued that property values and uniformity were essential for neighborhood harmony. This mosaic of opinions only deepened my understanding of the stakes. This was no longer just my battle, it was a reflection of conflicting ideals within our community. As I reflected on my journey, I found myself questioning the essence of home ownership and what it truly means to belong to a community. Initially, my new house represented freedom, the ability to create a space that was distinctly mine, where I could cultivate my interest and style without interference. Yet now, with the lawsuit looming over me, those ideals seemed increasingly fragile. What does it mean to be part of a community? Is it simply about shared spaces and social interactions, or is it deeper? A sense of mutual respect for personal choices. I thought about the neighbors who supported me and those who aligned with the HOA. Both sides were driven by their values. Some prioritized aesthetic conformity to maintain property values, while others championed individual expression, reflecting a fundamental divide in our understanding of community ties. This conflict forced me to confront my own beliefs about autonomy and belonging. I realized that true community encompasses a balance between respecting individual freedoms and shared standards, challenging me to reconsider how I defined not just my role as a homeowner, but also what it meant to truly belong somewhere amidst diverse perspectives. As the court proceedings began, I felt a mix of anxiety and determination coursing through me. The tension in the room was palpable as both sides presented their arguments. The HOA's attorney painted a picture of chaos, claiming that my home not only obstructed views but also threatened the community's carefully curated aesthetic. Their use of emotional language aimed to sway the judge, making it seem as though my presence was an affront to neighborhood harmony. When it was my turn to speak, I shared my vision for home ownership, how it represented freedom and individual expression. I highlighted the community's diversity and how my home fit into that tapestry rather than detracted from it. Each argument made by my attorney felt like a lifeline, but with every counter from the HOA, self-doubt crept in. Was I being selfish for wanting to maintain my autonomy? The emotional toll was immense. Watching my neighbors' reactions from the gallery stirred a whirlwind of feelings. Support and concern mingled with fear of losing not just my home, but what I had envisioned as my place in this community. It became clear that this battle wasn't simply about property rights, it was about identities clashing within the very fabric of our neighborhood. After what felt like an eternity, the day of the verdict finally arrived. The courtroom was thick with tension as the judge read her decision, my heart pounding in my chest. To my relief, she ruled in my favor, stating that the HOA had failed to provide sufficient evidence to support their claims that my home obstructed ocean views. Her words echoed through the room as she emphasized the importance of individual rights in a community, highlighting that homeowners should feel empowered to express their uniqueness. However, the ruling came with unexpected consequences. While I celebrated my victory, the judge mandated that any future complaints about property aesthetics from the HOA would require more rigorous scrutiny. This meant the HOA had to amend their guidelines and approach to disputes, leaving some residents frustrated and questioning the fairness of such a change. As I left the courtroom, a mix of emotions washed over me. I had won my case, but also inadvertently stirred the pot within our neighborhood. The rift between residents intensified, leading to more divisions. My victory felt bittersweet. While I regained my autonomy, it was clear that real harmony in our community would take more than just a legal ruling. It would require ongoing dialogue and understanding among neighbors. In the aftermath of the court ruling, the neighborhood underwent noticeable changes. Some residents who had previously sided with the HOA began to reevaluate their stance. The judge's insistence on promoting individual rights resonated with many, sparking discussions about the balance between community standards and personal freedom. The outcome prompted a few homeowners to voice their frustrations about the HOA's rigid policies, advocating for a more inclusive approach to neighborhood governance. Simultaneously, the HOA was forced to reconsider its strategy. They implemented new guidelines that required greater transparency and a collaborative spirit in future disputes. While some residents welcomed these changes, believing they would foster a more harmonious community, others felt uneasy, fearful that this new approach could lead to further conflicts. As for my own relationships with neighbors, I sensed a cautious thawing of tensions as people began engaging in more open dialogues about what it meant to coexist in our community. Despite lingering divisions, there was an undeniable shift towards a more inclusive atmosphere where respect for individual expression seemed to take precedence over blind conformity. The path forward remained uncertain, yet I felt hopeful that real progress could emerge from our shared experiences. As I moved forward from this experience, several lessons crystallized in my mind about homeownership, community dynamics, and standing up for one's rights. First and foremost, I learned that homeownership is not just about owning a property. It encompasses the emotional and social ties we build within our communities. My journey illuminated the importance of balancing personal freedom with respect for collective standards. While individuality is essential, understanding and dialogue can pave the way for coexistence. I also grasped the courage required to stand up against adversity. The legal battle was daunting, yet it empowered me to assert my rights, reminding me that true community thrives when its members advocate for themselves while listening to one another. Most importantly, I understood that change often begins at the local level. By challenging the status quo, I inadvertently opened doors for more inclusive conversations among neighbors and sparked a re-evaluation of rigid HOA policies. Though challenges remain, I feel hopeful that this experience can serve as a catalyst for greater understanding and cooperation in our community, allowing individual expressions to flourish within a shared space.